Mike G of the War Report joining us. Not a War Report Wednesday, but a War Report Thursday. At least we got it in this week. Nonetheless, Mike G, I teased it just a moment ago, but fill in the blank. The most interesting Auburn player to watch and follow this spring will be blank. And I don't want to put you on the spot, so I'll give my answer first. I think there's a very real chance that the answer to this is Landon King. Is he a tight end? Is he a wide receiver? Regardless, I think we saw glimpses of him last year, enough to kind of whet the appetite, right? I think a lot of Auburn fans are going to want to know more, especially, about, did he develop as a route runner any? What's he weighing in at? Has he transformed his body at all in this short amount of time? Like, what are they kind of doing with, strength and conditioning with him? And how are they using him? Is he going to be an inline tight end with his, this next season? Or are they going to possibly slot him out a little bit more because Auburn needs more help with the wide receivers? So I think Landon King, it's easy to make the case that he will be the most interesting player to watch and follow this spring for the Auburn Tigers.
The most interesting player to follow this spring for me, not to anybody's surprise, is going to be D. Davis.
Okay.
Listen, we have a hell of a quarterback room, I think. Outside of TJ Finley, who started, a few games last season, I think there's an idea that this race is wide open. Now, you've got a newcomer in Holden Gariner, who I think, it'll be interesting to see how he plays, but I think all indications from Harsin are that Gariner is probably going to redshirt. And because you're going to need as few question marks as possible in this season for Brian Harsin, you're going to go with some guy who you've either had in your system or already has experience playing in the SEC. Zach Calzada is going to be limited this spring with shoulder surgery to his off throwing shoulder.
Yeah, non-throwing shoulder, right.
And that leaves Robbie Ashford and D. Davis. And there has been a lot of intrigue around D. Davis's progress so far. Reports are that he has really stepped it up. If we were to start the season today, he would definitely be the number 2 quarterback. That's not a total shock, but how he's arrived here.
I think it is. I think if D. Davis started the season as a number 2 quarterback, I think that would be a shock.
If the season started today, I think it'd be a slam dunk. Well, as things are, right? It would, you know what I mean? Because we can't do anything with Calzada's shoulder. He's still hurt in this scenario. So I think it's D. Davis, right? But that comes with reports that he's been doing well. He's been playing well. He's been stepping up. He stepped up his game. That's going to be interesting. A lot of fans wanted to see him at the end of last season and maybe felt like an opportunity was missed to get him in the game when he couldn't burn a red shirt. In the Iron Bowl, we had another quarterback in 3 games playing on one leg, and we left him in there because there was an idea that we could not turn to our backup. So people are going to be watching D. Davis to see, Zach, not everybody's going to come out of this spring on this roster.
No.
So how he performs will go a long way to deciding which one of these quarterbacks hits the portal after the spring. So everyone's going to have their eye on D. Davis.
So what, 5 scholarship quarterbacks? There's no way Auburn keeps all 5 scholarship quarterbacks.
At least one is gone. Now, Holden Gariner, I would think about this like it's a 4-man race. Okay. Holden Gariner is not going anywhere no matter what. Right. He just got here. He probably expected not to win the job.
So Gariner is the one you're excluding, making it a 4-man race.
Yeah, making it a 4-man race between Calzada, Finley, Ashford, and Davis.
Okay.
Right. So after the spring is over, you got to look at it. You got to look at TJ and you got to look at D. Davis and think, which one of these guys, if they don't win the starting job, do they have incentive to stay on this roster? Because they just brought 2 other quarterbacks in. You got one guy who started almost every game for his team last season. In Zach Calzada. And then you got another one in Robbie Ashford, who is a supremely talented guy. He is a quarterback. We interviewed him. He wants to be thought of as a quarterback, not an athlete. He's here to play quarterback, and all indications are he's super ready to compete. So I don't see either one of those guys jumping out of the system, which leaves us with 2 very competitive guys left in D. Davis and TJ Finley. And I really feel like because D. Davis has not seen the field yet, and he's been in the system, he probably has the most to prove at this point.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you got to think there's really only two dudes that would leave in this scenario. D. Davis, I think, makes total sense. He hasn't used his free transfer yet. And if he doesn't think that he could possibly play this year, I don't know when that opportunity is going to come. So
Right.
I don't think anyone would blame him if he, if spring comes out and he's like, okay, he's number 2, but they're giving a lot of attention to Zach Calzada on the sideline, as far as the mental reps. It's like, okay, so I'm realistically number 3 in this scenario. So,
well, Chris Todd, I was going to say, Chris Todd told us no matter how well you play, they're always trying to bring somebody in that's better than you. So it might not be a good methodology to sit on a roster where you couldn't win the starting job for another year, waiting on them to suddenly discover that you're the guy.
Well, and also in this scenario, I mean, Calzada has more eligibility past 22, and so does Finley, and so does Gary, and so does Ashford. So, so yeah, I wouldn't blame him at all. The Finley one is interesting because obviously he's already used his one free transfer. But if he kind of gets a lay of the land and he's like, well, I'm not going to play in 22 anyway, he could kind of do what Jarrett Stidham did when he left Baylor. And, you park yourself at a year at, at a JUCO or whatever it may be. And then you sit out and then you go somewhere else where you're eligible in 23 anyway. And so I get it. I would totally not blame him if he did that. He's still young. He's played a good bit. He's got 2 years of SEC experience, about 1.5 starting when you all add it up, just shy of that. And so, I think there's another school that would find adding Finley to the roster attractive. And so, I would not blame him for doing that.
Yeah. So, TJ Finley is one of the upcoming interviews that we have. We sat with TJ and talked about the things that he feels like he needs to do this spring as well. So that quarterback race is going to be really interesting. You got a lot of guys who have
4 minutes of that. Just real quick, the first 4 minutes of that interview is fascinating.
Yeah, right. Like,
when is that dropping? Can you publicly say when that's dropping?
Yeah, that's going to drop on Monday.
Y'all watch
March
this.
the 6th.
Yeah.
Monday,
Be sure
March
to go to the War Report's YouTube page. Click the bell so you get notified when that TJ Finley interview drops. Go check it out because it is it's interesting.
Yeah, listen, I
hope I didn't give too much away. I hope I didn't give too much away on that.
Yeah, you're fine. Like, listen, these guys, these interviews have been raw and honest, and they said what they feel, but ultimately, they believe in this team and they think they have a team that can compete in 2022. So, feeling overlooked and undervalued, maybe a good thing for this squad. TJ's got a lot to prove this spring. I know I said D Davis has the most to prove, but TJ's got a lot to prove, not only to the team, but I think in some ways to himself.
Yeah.
Right. Because he's a competitor. So a competitor wants to go out and challenge themselves,
Yeah. But the question was, who's the most interesting? And I think D Davis's storyline this spring is much more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we don't know is what's so interesting about it. Like Calzada's not interesting to me.
I think Calzada is kind of the expectation in my mind. It's
it's not interesting.
If it's someone not Calzada, it becomes insanely more interesting. So, and the fact that your probable starting quarterback can't play in the spring is wild.
Yeah.
It makes wild and such a waste. I mean, you're just giving up so many reps. But hey, the glass half full way to look at this is maybe it gives a chance more to an Ashford or a D Davis,
right?
To kind of ascend up the depth chart and actually make the battle between whoever ascends this spring and Calzada. Maybe that does make it interesting.
Yeah, you have plenty of tape on Calzada. You almost
not
have
reps though, but not reps.
True,
these receivers and offensive line and tank. I mean, that's important.
Yeah, but you got tape, right? You don't have any. You have very limited data on the others in game time situations. So I think
it's baseball. We know Ashford can play baseball.
Hey, listen, man, he is this guy. Athlete. He is an athlete. Don't tell him that though. Don't call him an athlete. Call him a quarterback because that's what he is. Damn it.
I get that. I respect that. Well, cool. No, I appreciate your answer. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, how would you answer that question? You know, who do you think the most interesting player to watch this the spring is? Would love to get your thoughts on that.